But I do got to admit, if it wasn't for the help of friends, family, those medical professionals, I wouldn't be as organized and as mindful as I am now. And even saying that, I still get moments of chaos and I get overwhelmed and freak out. And I can always rely on my friends and family. They know the signs of when I'm about to either burn out or freak out or have a mental breakdown. So it's always good for those people to be around. And even if they're not part of the property or real estate sector, just having a chat just about general things or things that you love to try and calm you down and distract you as well. I was one of those people who constantly kept thinking, oh, I've got this many emails, I've got to do it. And it affected my sleep as well. It was keeping me up at night. But after I would sit down with my partner, talk through my day, and after a certain period of time talking through each other's day, that was it. We were to not think about work, not talk about work. It's very hard not to do, especially when you're on after hour course. But it is a good system to set up to help the people around you not think about it and to distract you as well. That definitely helps.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Property Management Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Now, you're not a real property manager without complaining at least once a day, right? Maybe it's about the tenant that's told you they would pay their rent. 100% they're going to pay it today, and then it doesn't happen. Or maybe it is the property owner that you've told they must get their maintenance fixed to meet compliance, and they ignore you yet again. As a property manager, you get stuck in the middle of some pretty tricky situations that require a healthy dose of negotiation skills, a shitload of patience, and more street smarts than your average tween. It's definitely not easy. It can be negative, and it takes great character and strength to push through some of the challenges that you face. It's no wonder that 1 in 5 property managers have left the industry. But let me share with you a new breed of property manager. Maybe she's the future of our industry, a rare ray of light and a breath of fresh air. She just gets it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And she's navigated the anxiety, stress, and burnout at such a young age already. But her story is one of triumph, one of overcoming adversity, of recognizing her own failings and owning them, recognizing the industry's failings and forging ahead regardless. And when she does have those moments where she's questioning absolutely everything or she's stuck in a tricky conflict, she's built the tools and stamina to get out. She also has the support of an amazing business and team to lean on. But more importantly, she has cultivated the innate strength to carry on regardless. So, who am I talking about? Who is this unicorn in the property management industry? Well, let me share with you my amazing guest in this episode, Ellen Vivers. She was born and raised in rural New South Wales, and she brings a down-to-earth character and country generosity to her role as a property manager. She previously worked for a strata company, but she longed for a more hands-on experience with clients and chose to move into real estate. She followed her passions and joined the Soames team in North Sydney and is enjoying being able to help people every single day. And if you are struggling and questioning your future in the industry right now, please take a listen to Ellen's story and the lessons and wisdom she shares. She's definitely wise beyond her years, and it was just the inspiration that I needed to hear right now. And I hope you do too. Ellen, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. I am so excited to have you here. Before we dive into talking all about you, can you share with our audience a little bit about how you got started and what you're doing now?
So I got started, it was actually in Strata. I was in Strata as an admin team manager. I wanted to develop and go into a Strata management position. However, I started learning it and I did not like it, but I like the property side of things. So going for property management was the next viable step, and I've just fallen in love with it. It's just like there's good days and there's bad days, but that's the same with any other job.
Absolutely. So how long have you been doing it for, and who are you working with now?
So I've been a property manager since November 2022. I started working with Soames in January 2022 as a property officer. So just doing open homes, ingoings, things like that. And then they promoted me to property manager in November, and they've helped me learn all the legislation, get my license and everything.
Fantastic. So let's maybe start out talking about what attracted you to property management and some of the aspects of the job that you really do enjoy or that gets you really excited.
No problem. So I like it because there's always a challenge. So every single day, yes, there's the same challenges. Maybe you get the same tenant complaining about the same thing over and over again. However, that's just one out of the multiple challenges you face daily, honestly. You also get to develop those relationships as well. That is one thing in Strata that I did not like. You couldn't really develop the relationships. While here, I get to know people on a personal level, which it just makes it easier to do your job because you just know them and you know how they will react and you know how to fix a situation and make sure it's what they want, not just trying to fix a situation and trying to like tick and flick, like trying to get it over and done with. So I really like that personal connection, honestly.
That's amazing. That is music to my ears hearing the tick and flick, because not that people don't want to spend time problem solving, because let's be honest, problem solving is the biggest part of a property manager's job. But so many people have got so many tasks and so many problems that it does very much become that let's get this done as quickly as possible, and then mistakes are made and jobs are not done properly, and I'm guilty of that myself. I'm not an attention to detail person, so I like to get through a big list of my to-do list is a mile long, and I love to tick off as I go. Oh, look how good I am. I'm ticking off all these jobs, but I'm actually probably not solving the jobs. I'm probably just moving them one step closer. So, for you, is that one of the challenges for you, or maybe you can share some of the challenges that you are currently experiencing in property management? I feel like the industry is definitely shifting and changing at the moment. I mean, there is a massive shortage of property managers and experienced property managers out there. I think it's, getting harder and harder to attract newcomers into the industry. But let's start with talking about some of the struggles and the reasons why you think maybe that people are leaving the industry.
So I do believe stress is probably one of the main reasons. We've had a few property managers in our company leave due to stress, but I feel like that's the same across the board, no matter where you are. So it's being able to manage that stress and not get overwhelmed. Like you come in to 100+ emails, don't get overwhelmed, just sit down, work them step by step, complete them completely, sorry.
No, that's fine.
So don't just do one or two little bits of the email, then come back to them later. I think going in, doing the whole complete task rather than doing the things that are probably the easiest to do, which we're all human, we probably all lean towards the easiest things to do. But once you get into that habit of sitting down, focusing on the one email or the one phone call rather than taking phone calls, doing half an email there, and it turns it chaotic, and that chaos causes you stress. And like I'm not perfect. I still sometimes have half written emails here and half written emails there, but that just means I have to sit down, reset, and see where I'm up to. It is a struggle to try and keep that momentum of just doing the one thing at a time, honestly. And it's very difficult because, say, for example, if you're focusing, say, on a case about rent review or something along those lines, and someone calls up saying they've got a leak, of course you've got to drop everything and go and fix the leak. But you just need to know where to cut off exactly. So don't cut off mid-sentence, maybe finish the sentence, make a note of where you're up to, and then go fix the leak type thing. But yeah, it is very difficult to cut it off, honestly.
Yeah. So do you have some strategies? Because I can totally relate to the half-written emails. I'd hate to go through my drafts in my inbox. In fact, I'm going to take a guess and say I reckon that my drafts inbox, where they all sit in the drafts, is going to be nearly as big as my inbox emails waiting to be replied to. So I can definitely relate to that. And I struggle with overwhelm as well, and of course I struggle with stress. And you never act as your best self when you're in those. You're not acting as your best self to the people around you in the business. You're not acting as your best self to your clients or the tenants. That's when you probably emotionally react. You snap at somebody or you're a bit moody. So what are some of the strategies that you put in place? Do you just make, like for me, I now know myself very well. I know when I'm getting to that state and I kind of have to go, whoa, what are you doing? Calm down, take a walk outside, work from home for a couple of hours. Like what are your strategies when you get to that stage?
So I am actually trying to do time blocking at the moment, like having a set period of time where I just do rent reviews or a set period of time where I just do lease renewals. It is very difficult because it doesn't always fall into line. Like sometimes you get a rent review coming in and it's like, oh, I'm not going to do rent reviews for another hour or two, but the owner is pushing for it. Like you've got to be flexible, honestly.
Yeah, there's no ideal week. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no ideal week. As much as you try and stick to it, it's not going to work. But I do, whenever I complete something that's quite hefty and quite like it just mentally drains you, I need to get up and walk around. And I'm trying for my health as well, I am trying to walk more. So if say for example, I have a bad email or a bad phone call, someone's just called up and yelled at me, instead of emailing them back, just say, look, I will work it out, I'll contact you shortly. I wouldn't go straight into it. I would get up, walk around, try to calm myself down. Because, like you said, the stress, the chaos, you start getting emotional, and the tick and flick component would come into it because you're so emotional, you just want to get it over and done with, and you don't really cover everything you need to. So, the walking really does help me. Another thing I do is I've got, it's going to sound really weird, I've got a raindrop soundtrack on my phone, and I
Nice.
just put my headphones on, close my eyes, and listen to that for 2 minutes if I don't have time for a walk.
That's great. I love that. That's mindfulness. That's putting you resetting your nervous system and put you in a better frame of mind to react less emotionally. So that's not weird at all. Yeah, no, I love it. I often will do when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, usually after my lunch break, I'll do I'm not sure if you've heard of yoga nidra, but it's a relaxation yoga that really resets your nervous system. It doesn't send you to sleep, although sometimes I probably have fallen asleep. At least there's an alarm at the end that goes off and wakes me up again. But yeah, you've got to try these things if you want to be better at your job and a better person towards your teammates at work and to your clients as well. You've got to find, and for you, actually, most importantly, for your own health as well. None of us, we all feel bad and horrible when we react emotionally and lose our shit back at somebody else. We don't feel like good people then. So it's protecting your health as well and your sanity. So what else? What other things do you do?
So, other things I do is if I feel like the chaos is sneaking in, I do write a list, but I don't put a time limit on it. So, at the moment, I've got several half written lists, but I know there's no time limit on trying to get those done. So, when I mean lists, I mean this week I'm going to try and do 10 rent reviews, 5 lease renewals, and if I don't meet those criteria, it's okay not to stress out. And if I do need the help, I will ask my property officer as well to help out. So I just try not to get overwhelmed with a list and write a list that's next to impossible. I try to make the goals as reachable as possible rather than write everything down, get overwhelmed with all the words on the page, which I have had happen when I started in the job. That's what I did. I did a massive to-do list and it was not good at
Yeah,
all.
no, that's exactly right. I work off a system now where I do my top three things that if I get nothing else done today, as long as I get those three things done, and then I have other things on my list, but that those are the three things that are going to move me closest towards my goals. So if I had KPIs, for example, of having to meet a certain amount of rent reviews every month or lease renewals or whatever your KPIs are, then I'd have my top three things related to what is directly going to move me forward in that direction. Or your rent arrears, I mean, obviously keeping that as low as possible. So a priority task each day would be making those rent arrears calls. But you're right, it does get overwhelming. There is a lot, and the sad thing is the tasks never stop coming in either. That
No, they never do. It just constantly keeps growing. Like get rid of one task and five more add on.
Yeah, I know, and it's very hard to get overwhelmed. So you seem like you're really like young and yeah, like you look really young, and I love that you've got that mindset already around managing the stress and managing the time and time management stuff. And I mean, I've tried all that stuff, time blocking and different list creations. I'm using an Eisenhower matrix at the moment, which was I shared on the podcast last week on how to do that, and that's really helping me, helping the way my mind works. So how have you learned, or are you just wired this way? Is like personal development something that you're really interested in? Like talk me through that, how that all looks for you.
So I am a little bit wired this way. I like everything to be stress free and not chaotic. I can't, there's some people who thrive on chaos. I'm not one of those people. As soon as it starts getting chaotic, I freak out a little bit, and it doesn't help anyone in that situation. So it has been a learning development, especially when I was in high school and uni. It was something I had to learn how to cope. It did get to a point where I did have to go and sort medical and mental health help from professionals. So I can't really claim it's all myself.
Don't worry, we've
But
all been there.
yeah, but I do gotta admit, if it wasn't for the help of friends, family, those medical professionals, I wouldn't be as organized and as mindful as I am now. And even saying that, I still get moments of chaos and I get overwhelmed and freak out. And I can always rely on my friends and family. They know the signs of when I'm about to either burn out or freak out or have a mental breakdown. So it's always good for those people to be around. And even if they're not part of the property or real estate sector, just having a chat just about general things or things that you love to try and calm you down and distract you as well. I was one of those people who constantly kept thinking, oh, I've got this many emails, I've got to do it. And it affected my sleep as well. It was keeping me up at night. But after I would sit down with my partner, talk through my day, and after a certain period of time talking through each other's day, that was it. We were to not think about work, not talk about work. It's very hard not to do, especially when you're on after hour calls. But it is a good system to set up to help the people around you not think about it and to distract you as well. That definitely helps. But
Ab-
yeah.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think you need that because there's so many things that happen in a day in property management, and you do need that debrief moment, debriefing, debunking what's happened. And then, yeah, if you can shut off and, get on with your day or your night, watching Netflix or, not worrying about work. Because the reality is it's going to be there tomorrow when we get into the office, and there's nothing we're going to be able to change that night. So why, ruin, good 8 hours sleep? I'm very big on needing a lot of sleep. And I think it's really important for us to function at our best is getting that sleep. So that's a really great bit of advice there as well. And yeah, we can't work all this stuff out on our own, and seeking people who've been there, walked in our shoes is, leads us, helps us get to our destination a lot quicker than working some of this stuff out ourselves. So yeah, so talk me through other stuff that you do with other struggles in the business. So you sound like you've got a really good growth mindset. You've maybe been to some dark places. but now you're seeing that there is solutions to some of those places that you can get yourself into, not just in property management, but in life. But property management seems to feed that negativity and that victim mentality, I guess, a little bit. Do you agree with that? If you are anything like me, you think you know your rent roll numbers. Well, I thought I did until I had a rent roll health check, and I was quite literally shocked. The money I was leaving on the table was astounding, and this is not something that I'm proud to admit. There were missed management fees, let fees, advertising, and lease renewal fees not being charged, and properties even without bonds. And all of this was happening despite monthly audits being conducted in my business. So how did I uncover all these gaps in my valuable income? Well, I had a rent roll due diligence from my good friend Tazi, aka the Rent Roll Queen and founder of the Tazi Way, a specialist in rent roll due diligence, business valuation, and management rights. The Tazi Way is the innovative force driving the real estate industry. With 25 years of business and real estate acumen, they find gaps and risks in your agency to find undiscovered value. If you'd like to book your business in for a rent roll due diligence, head to the link in the show notes and mention That Property Mum for a 10% discount. If you're ready to be a super organised, focused and productive property manager, buckle up, because Colmio is about to revolutionise the way that you work. Colmio is the driving force behind property management excellence in residential real estate. Now picture this, a comprehensive end-to-end system designed to be the beating heart of your property management tasks, manage your properties, owners and tenants, and handle payments, inspections, and even marketing listings without leaving the platform. Colmio is designed to be an all-in-one solution to all your property management needs. And here's the game changer. Colmio isn't just software. It's been awarded the most innovative PropTech Scale Up in 2023. Yes, you heard it right. Colmio has been recognised for their groundbreaking approach to property management software. How good is that? So property managers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, dive into the future of property management with Colmio. You can book in a demo with the team today and go in their weekly draw for a Prezi gift card worth $100. All you need to do is to head to the link colmio.com/thatpropertymum, and Colmio is Kolmeo.
I do agree with it because it is very difficult in property management, because if you start feeling guilty or upset or any of those things, especially with some of the decisions that you're the middleman, you are the one who has to inform the tenant, the landlord, everything that occurs. There's some things you cannot control. If the landlord wants something or if the tenant is set on having something done, it is very difficult to control. Like, yes, you can negotiate, but if they're set in their ways, they're set in their ways. If you start feeling guilty about it, it's very difficult to overcome it, and you start thinking that you're the problem. Again, I've thought that multiple times. I've thought, oh God, maybe if I delivered it better this way or done it better this way, it wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't be where we are. But at the same time, you can't really take on the guilt, because you're just doing as you're told if the owner's told you to do something, or you're following the legislation where you can't really go against it. So it is very difficult, because you start blaming yourself, and then that trickles, like, it doesn't get stuck to just your work. If you start blaming yourself at work, it trickles into your personal life. And I have seen that where something has gone horribly wrong at work, and I look through and it's like, oh, if I just worded it, like just change this one word, and it affected the rest of my day and at night so much that my partner had to sit me down and be like, okay, what's happening? You look terrible. you look like you're just constantly thinking what's going on. I'm like, oh, if I just change this one word, it would have all been fine. He's like, you don't know that. Like what's done is done. You can't fix any of it. It's already gone out. There's no point in trying to think of what can change. And there's no point in feeling guilty about it either, because it's done. There's nothing you can do. Like you were saying, like once it's done, or if it's like you can't
It's waiting
control
there for
it.
you when you the
Yeah,
next
it's
day. Yeah.
waiting there for you. So you can feel guilty about it for like over, or some property management issues go on for weeks. Imagine feeling guilty for weeks and months, and it just doesn't help, and it doesn't help with the stress either.
No, and that's right. And we beat ourselves up. Like the longer we hang on to those negative thoughts and those bad feelings about ourselves, and we do. We're all natural. We make a mistake, and it's something wrong with us. Not that it was just an actual mistake, but we take it to mean something so much more, and we beat ourselves up. And then for me, I don't know if this you can relate to this, but once I get into that negative spiral of feeling bad about myself, then, I'm looking for more bad things in my world. So, my kids will speak to me rudely, and that's something. See, even my kids don't like me, or my dogs will ignore me, and even my dogs don't like me, and or I have an issue with someone in my team, and it all comes. I just look for that constant negativity, and then it just builds up, and you feel absolutely crappy about yourself, and yeah, and that obviously leads to a lot more anxiety and depression, or whatever it looks like, and that's just not a healthy way to be. So I guess that's a great advice for everybody. Like we can't take on things that are out of our control. You're right, we act for the landlord, we act for the property owner, and we can only do what we can do. And of course, we're all going to learn as well. Hey, like, what I mean? We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn those lessons real quick when we make those mistakes. Have you got any, are you open to sharing some like mistakes or some things, some lessons that you've learnt the hard way?
Yes, certainly. So I've had a instance with a boundary fence. And what has occurred is the owner of the property approved that they're happy to go ahead with the fence. We went ahead with the fence, and then the neighbor didn't approve. So we had to go through that whole scenario, because originally the neighbor said, no, don't care, do whatever you want. So I had to get it all done. Our owner paid for everything, and then the neighbor started to knock it down. So I had to deal with that, because they do have a right to say what type of boundary fence it was. So I had to deal with that, of keeping my owner happy, but at the same time keeping the neighbor happy. And it blew up so much that I actually had to get my head property manager involved as well, to be the third person, to be the neutral zone for it all.
Yeah.
It's a bit chaotic, like something as small as a boundary fence causing a huge commotion and a huge conflict. So much so, like, you're just doing what the owner said, and the neighbor, they're not your client. They had a say, backed out of their say. It's just very difficult. But
Oh
that one,
God.
that one's still going on.
I know.
So
And
no solution.
why can't people be reasonable? Like, he's got a fence put up for free essentially. Like, just be grateful for that. Like, I people just cannot be reasonable sometimes. And I have a saying where, sometimes you just can't deal with dickheads. Yeah, you just have to let them go. There's no reasoning with DHs. I shouldn't probably swear too much, but with DHs, you cannot deal, you can't reason with them, whether that's a tenant or sometimes even our property owners. They just aren't reasonable. There's no meeting in the middle. There's no negotiating with those types of people. And yeah, sometimes you just have to let them go. But I think I don't think there would be a property manager listening that has not had an issue with a fence dispute. I've got multiple fence disputes ongoing at the moment, and finding tradespeople to actually come and repair and fix the fences is creating an even bigger issue at the moment. So yeah, that's right. But one thing you just mentioned then, you said you had a head of property management. How good is that, having that support for you, and how valuable is that for you as a reasonable newcomer? I mean, you've been 2-3 years now, but so you're a senior now, but
Oh no, not yet. Not
but
yet, but
but good
close.
good having that support though that you've got to turn to. Is that made a difference for you?
It definitely has. There has been moments where I've massively doubted myself, and my head property managers, he's always come through, always helped me, always reassured me, look, you've done the right thing. Don't worry. They're just heads. He uses a bit more colorful language sometimes. But he's really good at supporting. And if you do something wrong, he teaches you how to do it properly, and so don't worry, as long as you learn for the next time, that's all that matters. It's just good to have that support. I have a few friends who are in the property management department with other real estates, and they don't really have that support. And a majority of the time when I do catch up with them, they're freaking out. They have no support. They have this larger issue. They have no one to turn to for extra advice. And I just really feel for them, because I do have an amazing support. I've got amazing team. And if you have any question, even if the head property manager's not there, we could go to the licensee in charge or the other property managers at in the company. It's a great support system, honestly. And I would be so lost without it, if I'm being completely honest.
That's great. So maybe just share what some of the things are that your company has in place that make it easier for you to A, do your job, and secondly, to want to stay and, learn and grow. You seem like you've got such I know naturally you're probably in that place of wanting to learn and grow, but that the environment that you're in seems to be fostering that as well.
Yeah, so with the company, we have 3 offices altogether. 2 of those offices are sale, and well, technically one's just for sale, and the other one is for property management, and we've got one that's combined. Even though saying that, I'm over at the sales office talking to those guys, and we're all over the place. We haven't got hawk desks, but it's almost a bit like that, if I'm being honest. But the good thing is, no matter where you are, even if you're at the sales office or there's no one in property management around, you could ask the salespeople and they're more than happy to help you out. So it's just having the people around who aren't afraid to talk. And even if it's a dumb question, believe me, I've asked a few dumb questions, I don't get judged. And it's really good, because if you don't feel like you're able to do it, the other people would sit down with you and help you through an email, help you write it out, or help you look over the legislation, and they can help you out with the situation. We also have like all our procedures and what templates and stuff to use in a Google Drive as well. That's easy accessible for everyone in the team. We also have access to REI, New South Wales. We're encouraged to use that as frequently as possible. But yeah, it's just, you could literally yell out and someone will answer your question. It's a good support system.
That's great. And I love that there's that encouragement to use external support as well. I do that with my team as well. I encourage them. In Queensland, the REIQ has a support line, property management support line, which has a minimum of 2 really experienced property managers online on call 5 days a week. So, and I've actually used them myself as well. I'm not great on legislation and the nitty gritty of the legislation, so I'm constantly leaning on them as well. So, but that's amazing, and I think what it all comes down to, though, and I love this about you. It's so refreshing to hear you talking like you are in this podcast episode. Is it all comes down to you, really, though. Like you can have all this support but not lean on it and choose not to want to thrive and grow with all that support there. And you can kind of just stick your head in the sand and this is the way property management is and it's never going to change, and I'll just keep going the way that I am, even if I'm miserable or even if I'm making myself sick and I'm unhappy. Or you can choose to try different things like time blocking and meditation apps and going for a walk when you're. So yeah, I think I really commend you for that. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It has taken me a while to get to this space. If you would have asked me all these questions back in 2022, it would have been all different answers, honestly. But it's just growing each day. Whenever something new comes up, if you learn about, like, with the systems at the moment, there's always new stuff coming out. If you learn about it and it makes it easier, may as well enforce it or give it a try. Like, maybe it's not your cup of tea, or maybe it helps you with your workload. You just never know. Like, I'm always up for trying new things. I'm not stuck in how I do things. I'm always open to trying new things, try new systems, things like that. Yeah.
Do you think you'll be a career property manager?
I really do want to make a career out of it. The end game is hopefully once I'm older, slowing down a little bit, I want to go across into property management in heritage listed sites. But that's only after I've gone through life and everything and just slowing down.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. And I'm sure your conversation with me today will be inspiring to many, not just newcomers, but also probably seasoned property managers as well, who may have needed to hear a little bit more of a fresh perspective on some of the struggles and the issues in the industry at the moment. Now, have you got a bit of personal development, a podcast, a book, something that you can recommend anyone listening to help them, maybe if they are currently struggling?
This is going to sound a bit of, I listen to your podcast quite a lot
Oh, thank
whenever
you.
I'm struggling. It helps me a lot. It brings me back to like what I need to actually know and not overthink things as well. It's really good. But other than that, sometimes I go to other websites such as Think Real Estate. They're quite good. It allows me to read through the legislation and understand it a bit better. But no, it's mostly your podcasts I listen to help with my property management side of things.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to hear that. How can anyone listening connect with you further?
They can reach out. I've got a Facebook page for my management, for my property management. Yeah, other than that, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm slowly coming through the rest of the social medias, very slowly.
Absolutely amazing. Well, reach out if you want a hand with any of that. I can certainly help you along there. And yeah, I think you're developing that personal profile as a property management expert and leader will be very valuable as progress through your career as well. So, and I'm really pleased to hear that your company that you're working with is really supportive of your property management journey. It's very refreshing. Thank you so much for joining me. I really loved connecting with you.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Can I ask you a quick favour before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.